Never. Never.
Hey everybody, it's Dawson here, and we today are going to talk about y equals mx plus b. And I know we've talked about this in class before, but we're going to just go into a little more depth and maybe a little reminder for those of you who forgot, and for those of you who never got it in the first place, hey, we're going to learn it for the first time. So, y equals mx plus b is a nice way to describe and talk about straight lines, because all equations that have to do with straight lines fall into this basic category. Any straight line out there, you can write an equation with this basic format to it. And so anytime you see a format like this, you know the line is going to be a straight linear equation. So what does all this stuff mean in here? Well, most of you recognize that the y and the x part of it, these are our variables. So we have y is one variable, x is the other variable. When you have a t-chart, x is on the left, y is on the right. And so as numbers change for some value of x, x being our independent variable, y being our dependent variable, then there's some number that changes here. So if we start at 2, then we go up to 5, go up to 8, it's changing by 3 every time. And it goes up linear, goes up by the same amount each time. And so that's where we get this x and y part of it. Those tend to stay the same. You might change the variables, but this is always going to be our independent variable, and this is always going to be our dependent variable. But what changes in lines, whether how steep it is or how high it is or whatever, it always has to do with the m and the b part. And this particular form has a special name, and it's called slope-intercept form. There's several forms out there. This one is slope-interform. Oh yes, have I mentioned yet? Please get out your Cornell notes, and you should have this titled as your main objective here, y equals mx plus b. What is it and how do we use it? And you're going to be taking these notes in your Cornell notes sheet. So this is called slope-intercept form. This whole thing here, slope-intercept form. And I'm just going to start using that terminology because it does come up later. People will talk about it. There's another type of form that's called standard form. And so when we get to that, it allows us to talk about the different types of forms of these equations a little bit easier. So just for now, understand this is slope-intercept form. The reason why they call it slope-intercept form is that the m part is the slope. That tells you how steep your line is. How steep that line is. So the higher the slope, the steeper the line. The lower the slope, or the closer to 0 the slope is, the shallower the line, the more flat it is. And that's important when we talk about the closer to 0 you get, the flatter the line is. Because as soon as you get negative, then the slope just starts going downhill. So it's as you get a higher negative number, it's going to be steeper again, just going steeper in the opposite direction. And then b, this other number out here in the front, that is called the intercept. And in particular, it's the y-intercept. All right. And so the m in this equation, the coefficient of our variable, will always be what our slope is, how steep that line is. The b part, whatever we add or subtract to that equation, will always be our y-intercept. It's where it shows up on the y-axis. All right, so let's take some examples here. And we have ourselves a nice graph here. And if I write out the equation y equals 1/2 x plus 3, 1/2 x plus 3, for this particular homework assignment, yes, you do need to write this out. For this particular homework assignment, you need to be able to identify what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. And if I give you the slope and the y-intercept, you should be able to write the equation. So just understanding what parts of this are the slope and what part is the y-intercept. And so then I'm also going to show you kind of the graph side of it so you have a sense for what that's going to look like when you have these things. Well, let's start off with slope and y-intercept. All right, if we look at this equation, what's the slope? What's the y-intercept? Pause the video real quick and try it out. And you can even go back to the last few minutes where I talked about what was the slope and what was the y-intercept. So if you need to, go back and do that. Okay, slope, let's see if you got it right. 1/2, because that's the number in front of the x, and the y-intercept is a +3. I like to put the plus in there because it reminds me, if this was a minus sign here, that this would be a -3. So it just helps remind me that. You don't have to put the plus in, but it helps remind me. If we were to graph this, then we're going to start with our y-intercept. I know the line crosses here at +3. Let me pick a different color here. Pick a nice crayon. +3, and I don't think I want crayon. And then the slope is 1/2, so it's going to be a nice shallow line that is not very steep. As you can see here, this line is not very steep. And then I can draw a line from that. Get my little line tool out here. Draw myself a line through these points. And we have our graph. Okay, so that's, and you're not going to have to do the graphing of the line straight from the equation yet. You'll have to do it soon enough, but not quite yet. But I wanted to give you a sense for a look at how steep this line is when you have a slope of 1/2, the fact that you're starting at 3 up here on the graph. Okay, let's look at another example. And for this one, let's use the equation y equals -2x plus 1. All right, so go ahead and do the same thing again. Try to figure out the slope and the y-intercept. Pause the video, and then we'll check our answers. Okay, so for this one, the slope is -2. That's what's in front of the x. The y-intercept is +1. So I'm going to start up here, +1 for my line. Because that's where it crosses the y-intercept. And then this one, because it's a negative slope and it's a higher number than 1/2, it's steeper, first of all. And also, it goes down when I go from left to right. It goes down. Okay, and then we can throw a little line in here. And there's our graph of our equation. Oops. Okay. So just, again, you're not going to have to do this graphing part of it. You don't have to take notes on the graphing part, but I just wanted to show you what that would look like. Okay, let's do another one. And this will be our last equation that I'm going to write for you. And this one, we're going to go with y equals x minus 4. Y equals x minus 4. So this one's a little different. There's no number in front of the variable, so you have to figure out what that hidden number is there to figure out your slope. So go ahead and give it a shot, and then pause it, and we'll come back. All right, so everybody figure out the slope. The magic number, anytime you have in front of a variable and what that number is, if it's not there, it's always going to be a 1. So the slope on this one is 1, because 1 times any number is still that number. So that's that hidden number in there. Y-intercept is -4. So when I graph this one, I'm starting down low because it's a -4. And then I go up at a moderate rate. It's relatively steep, but not too bad. Okay, so that's that one. One last equation, and this one is y equals 2/3 x. Something's missing. All right, see if you can figure it out. Again, there's a hidden number over here, so you have to figure out what that hidden number is when it's not over there. All right, give it a shot, give it a pause, see what you get. Okay, so the slope is 2/3. That's the number in front of the x. The y-intercept, this one's tricky. You could also write this as +0, because when you add or subtract 0 to any number, it doesn't change it. So my y-intercept in this case is 0. On the graph, if the y-intercept is 0, that means it's crossing right at that center point. And then here's my graph of this equation. Okay. So hopefully now you're getting how to figure out the slope and the y-intercept. Now, the last thing you have to do on your homework is you need to solve some problems. I'm not going to give you the answers to these in the video. You're going to have to do them and then bring them into class. The first set of questions, there's 3 of them here. You need to, given this equation, y equals 4x minus 1, tell me what the slope and the y-intercept are. Given this equation, y equals negative x plus 3, tell me what the slope and y-intercept are. So you're going to be telling me what they are. It's kind of like a little quiz that you're not going to get graded on. I'm just going to be checking and seeing if you did the homework. This one's a little different because I give you the slope and the y-intercept. You need to put it into slope-intercept form. So you need to write an equation that looks like this, but has this slope and this y-intercept. So give that a shot too. So you should have 6 answers to these questions at the end of your notes. You can do it on the front or the back, whatever space you have, you can use that. And then bring those in for class. All right. Oh my, I almost forgot to tell you your joke of the day. Okay, for those who don't care about the joke, just go ahead and turn it off now. All right, here's the joke of the day. What do you get if you divide the circumference of the moon by its diameter? So the circumference of the moon is the distance around the outside of the moon, by this diameter, which is the distance through the center of the moon. What do you get? You get pie in the sky. Ooh, that's bad. All right, hope all's well. Take care. See you in class.